Hey guys, welcome to Naylor Taliaferro's waterfront property. The summer road tour rolls on, powered by our friends at Echo, Kohler Engines, Site One, and Nice Job. Good to be here, Naylor. Thank you for your hospitality, man.
Thanks for coming, man. Again, sorry about the heat, man. It's another hot day, right? That's just what happens when you pick July in Virginia.
It's hot.
It is hot. It's 102 degrees. So, but we're in the shady part now. Eventually, the sun will be behind my neighbor's house, and the whole place will be shaded. But yeah, it's nice. There's a little bit of a breeze that we catch every now and again, but it's just a hot day. That's just how it is. But I appreciate you coming again. This is awesome. It's a good opportunity for me. Another opportunity for me to just kind of relax and slow down for a minute. Not that we aren't going to have stuff going on today, but it's a different changing gears, right? A little bit. So, and I appreciate you saying the waterfront property, all jokes aside.
All jokes aside, whatever you bought this house for is probably worth more by now.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got in first. We got this house first. And right after we bought our house, these were all just lots, and they started jacking the price up like 50 to 100,000 more because of the waterfront property. It is waterfront technically, but they really hype it up to make it as attractive as possible for people to come take a look at it. And when we first moved in, there was nothing there but a big hole. And we're like, are you sure it's supposed to be water here? Yeah, it'll fill in eventually. So now it's like crazy when it rains. I'm like, is this going to overflow? But that's why they have that big like dam thing in the background, which is cool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. It's over there.
Okay. There it is.
There it is.
It's like the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you taking time. It looks like you put some Almond Landscape LLC touch on the backyard since I've been here last. Some additions and
yeah, for sure.
Looks like you watched some Christmas Vacation. You got the got the lights going here.
Yeah. So I got the lights. So one of the beautiful things about doing lawn maintenance, for a living is you have a lot of folks around that are you do a lot of work on all these properties, and you get to see all these different versions of stuff, right? People have different patio setups, different landscaping things, lighting. I don't really get to see the lighting on because I'm not mowing lawns in the dark, obviously, but I can see this setup and I'm like, So whenever it's just in the back of my mind. I don't really think about it like, that'd be cool for our yard, but my wife does. And she's like, hey, it'd be nice to have some sort of lighting. It's so dark in our backyard. Maybe we get like a floodlight like our neighbor has or something. So, yeah, that'd be cool if we're hanging out here. But then I'm like, but there's these cool things that, a lot of my customers have. They have this lighting, different types of lighting, like poles and strands of lights hanging from here, there, and everywhere. And she's like, oh, that sounds good. And she looks into it. So I get a lot of these ideas. We get a lot of these ideas from all of my clients that work in these nice high-end neighborhoods. And that's where we kind of start piecing all this together. And she goes to the nurseries and looks at different plants and bushes and figures out what's going to be the best looking stuff and color year-round and all that. So it's a work in progress for sure.
Yeah, it looks excellent. And last year when I was here, we were broadcasting at night. Stacy Flanagan, Seth, the lawn surgeon, was doing a YouTube video, Tipsy Tuesday or Tipsy Talk.
Yeah.
And you could barely see because it was dark. You didn't even have your podcast last year when I was here.
No,
what month did you start?
I started in the winter, remember?
Okay.
Yeah. Like it was literally I started at the Lawntrepreneur Academy Live.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah. It was at Brian's event in the hotel room that I shared with you. I borrowed your board.
Oh yeah, we were being all rowdy, and Brian and Liz and Caleb and Brittany and Mia. We're over there. It's a little hotel room in Hub and Payjack and
Joe DePace.
You had 4 people, and you're giving me the look. Naylor and I travel so much. It's like he kind of just looks at me, and I know like get it together, Paul. So,
but that's when we started. So that was what, November?
Yeah, that was a good episode. And then Corey Ballard came in the next morning.
So
you interviewed him. He is just crushing it, man.
Yeah, he is.
Perfect Cut, his lawn care business is huge. I was looking at the top 150,
list of podcasts.
Yeah. No, not a podcast of
businesses.
Lawn care companies.
Perfect Cut's up there. They're one of the top 50 or 100 or something.
Yeah,
right?
They might have been one. Well, I don't want to say and miss it, but
he's
in the top.
Yeah,
just a huge company in Iowa. But in addition to that, he has all of the Ballard products.
Right.
The guy's just absolutely crushing it. So
yeah, and he's going to be on the. He's going to be on the live
panel. That segues.
Yeah.
I've been getting asked about this. This is exciting. So Naylor is the pioneer behind this. And last year it was postponed. The year before last, Naylor had this. He gets these ideas. He's like, why don't we do like a Q&A live like the YouTubers do out at their event in California? And I was like, that is such a good idea. And so they put us up in the corner of like the farthest possible point you could find. We didn't even know where it was.
Yeah.
And we're trying to tell people how to get there. It's like, let's walk a long time. And long story short, it was standing room only. It was packed out on a Friday, and I think that caught the attention of GIE, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so this year they gave us the Grand Ballroom, correct?
Correct. Yeah, so and just a quick other part of that backstory, which I'm not sure if I even told you this back when that happened, but it all came from, so I mean, I had the idea, but part of the main reason of this idea was because I started to really strengthen my relationship with OPEI, which is the Outdoor Power Equipment Institute, and they're the ones that pay for the GIE. They're basically responsible for the entire industry, making sure all the equipment's following the safety guidelines, training, all the different emissions, gas, all that stuff. They work with the government and all that. That's a whole another, story. You've had Chris Kaiser on before, and he's the president
many times.
Right, he's the president of OPEI, and I'm sure on one of those episodes he's explained a little bit about what they do. But they're the ones that pay for the GIE+EXPO. So they're right up in Frederick, Maryland, I believe.
They're right outside Washington,
they're in
DC.
Virginia. They're in
right across from Washington, D.C.
Right. So I forgot what part of Virginia, but they're very close. Only a couple hours away.
Alexandria.
From me. Alexandria. Good job. There you go. Alexandria, Virginia. Yeah. So they were there. Nice job. Yeah.
Naylor's neighbors. Thank you guys. Rick.
Yeah, that's right. Good
Rick's
old Rick.
mowing was birth here last year.
It sure was. Yeah.
Continue.
No, but so I went and visited them one time because because they're so close, and that's kind of how we started building upon this relationship, and a lot of other opportunities came from that. But in that meeting, at their office, Chris Kaiser said, we really love what you guys are doing with the community. Like, they got wind of the rally at the Mega Caverns, in its infancy, the first or second year or whatever. I think it was only the first year, and they saw it. So they caught wind of that, and they're like, man, the community is awesome. We would love to be a part of it, but we don't want to mess anything up. How can we be a part of it without messing anything up? So that got my wheels turning, and I didn't come up with an idea right then on the spot, but it just had me thinking in the background. And I remember Caleb Almond, shout out to Caleb, maybe a year or so ago in one of our mastermind groups, he had mentioned that, the rally's awesome and all these meetups are great, but they're getting so big and blown up. It's hard to really have an intimate conversation with people, or even have a conversation with certain people, because they're just surrounded by a lot of folks. So it'd be cool to have a round table type setting, to be able to just have a couple of key influencers or whatever, and you just they're just up there on stage and they're just talking, and we can just ask them questions and stuff, and it's a little more intimate. And I thought that was a good idea too. So I basically just combined those two things. Like, how can I get the GIE involved? Well, let's ask them if they want to be a part of this event, and then make it like you said, the YouTube live panel, but for the green industry. So that's how that was birthed. And it was, like you said, standing room only. The GIE was generous enough to give us that room. Yeah. They have to pay for all of that. They have to pay the Kentucky Exposition Center for the room, all of those chairs, all 200 chairs, the stage,
muffins, the coffee.
Yeah, the muffins, the coffee, the bananas, the sound guy, the mics, every single thing, the chairs on the stage, all that stuff they had to pay for. But then they didn't know how it was going to be. I just had pretty much convinced them that it would be a great event. We'll get a lot of people. Like you said, it was standing room only, over 200 chairs. So we had people everywhere. So they were literally, I saw Warren Sellers, who's in charge of the GIE+EXPO. He's the one that works for the OPEI to run the show. That's his business. And he was just walked in the middle of it, and I could just see his mouth wide open. He was just in shock. So they wanted to do it again, but because of COVID, it slowed things down and all that. But because of that, we had more time to plan. And I started a podcast. You already have a podcast, Paul. Caleb started a podcast, and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool to do a podcast live event? So we kind of reinvented the live panel, and now it's going to be the podcast live panel, where we're going to be having 3 separate podcasts going in sequential order, and then we're going to be having guests that are going to be live on stage with us, and then the audience is going to be there, and they're going to be able to listen to the whole thing. They're going to be able to ask questions, and they're just going to be able to have a good time watching us interacting on the podcast. So it's going to be really, really exciting. And then the people that can't go can hear our podcast when we publish it later on.
Yeah, and you got Corey Ballard's going to be a guest panelist, and Sean and TQ.
Yeah,
Spencer, Alan Hain.
Yep.
The lawn care nut who took us fishing. That was so much fun.
Yep.
Oh, my. And then there's one more.
Jason Creel.
Jason
The
Creel,
Lawn
Roll
Care
Tide.
Life.
He was on the boat, but he's struggling a little bit.
Oh no. Yeah. So my theme for this one was, so the original one I kind of had like all of the big influencers, from like Stan, Keith, Top Notch, Blake, Chon,
Calfus.
Brian, lawn maintenance. I mean, we had everybody up there. This time around, I wanted like the OOGs, like Spencer's Lawn Care was like one of the first channels I was watching. Obviously, Jason Creel, it was a different name to his channel, but he was one of the first ones I was watching. The Lawn Care Nut, he was been around forever. He was been around before anybody, just making stuff for homeowners. But we all caught on to him, and he kind of became adopted into our community and stuff. And so, and Corey Ballard has been around forever. He actually used to come to the show and had a booth for Ballard Innovations, and then he stopped coming for a little while, and then came back like 4 years ago, and he had became like an influencer. So he had a whole another dynamic. So I'm interested to talk to him about that. I'm excited about that whole dynamic. So
well, here's what we're going to do, because I want to hear more about the rally this year. I know that it's been in a cave the last several years, and maybe it's not going to be in a cave this year. So I'm working on my teases. Don't tell us everything.
Oh no,
it's called a tease. You just share a little bit. Mr. Producer calls me, and he's so kind and gentle with you and Fullerton and Caleb, but with me, he's like, Paul, your segues aren't good. You say awesome too much. Like he helps me out. So I got a tease going into the segue. So coming up, we're going to hear what the plans are for this year's GIE Rally. And we got guests coming here. We got Stepping Stone Landscaping in the house. So I know you're such good at hospitality. So I'll let you say hello to your guests. And we'll have more from the lake at Naylor's coming right up. All right, friends, we are back. This is so cool. So shout outs to Fullerton, because last year on the summer tour, he knows about podcasting, and you obviously know the setting up, the tearing down is so time consuming, while simultaneously you're trying to, hang out with your guests, and it's just a headache to do that over and over again. So Brian's like, just come on over, we'll set you up in the garage, and I'll organize everyone coming over. And you've kind of done that with a little bit different than put me in the corner of the garage. You got me out on the lake.
Right. Yeah.
But,
on the waterfront property,
so. But as we were saying before the segment, or before the break, the GIE Rally has a little bit of a upgrade this year. So tell us a little bit about, maybe the whole backdrop of the story, because some of y'all might not even know this is like the epic event of the year that you want to be at.
Yeah.
Maybe give us some history, and then how it's a little bit different this year.
Yeah, so I mean, when our whole community online was pretty much formed, like way back in the day, before I even started putting out content on YouTube and everything, there was a few select influencers like Geek to Freak Lawn Care, right? And Sean Spencer with Spencer Lawn Care. Those two were classics. I mean, there was Keith and Keith Calfus, some other folks out there. But I know when the community started growing, Sean and Greg kind of got together with some other folks that aren't really involved in YouTube and the community the same capacity anymore. But they formulated a plan to have some sort of meetup they stumbled upon, or someone knew about the GIE+EXPO. I know Sean was a big part in that, and him and Greg really talked about trying to figure out a way to get everyone to come and get together. Like, not only is this an awesome trade show in Louisville, Kentucky, in October, it's a great way to kind of recap and kind of finish out the year, look at all the cool stuff, play with all the cool stuff, and then maybe have like a meetup and invite all of you folks, to come check everything out and have like a meet and greet somewhere. So that's what they did. I think 2014 or something. That's how long ago it was. And it was just like maybe 50 people or so showed up. I wasn't there. Hardly anyone was there. We were just watching it on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I had started my channel around that time, and I was waiting for Greg and Sean's videos to come out, So
I was too.
Yeah, so I could check out the GIE and all that. And it looked so awesome. I was like, man, I was like so upset that I couldn't go. But that was like my first year in business. I didn't have any extra money saved up to be going to Louisville, Kentucky for several days and all that stuff. So it was just one of those things. But then the following year, that's when like everybody went, like Blake and B&B and everybody who was everybody, Seth, all these people were coming. They all came, and they came down and
thank you.
Get distracted here. Got some hospitality, some Southern hospitality.
Hey,
thank you. That's Naylor's wife.
Yeah,
you guys just had your anniversary.
Yeah, 20 years
in Waco. That was awesome, huh?
Yeah, we had a good time.
Okay, St. Martin.
Yeah.
in
Good time.
October.
We were going to go last year, but it was canceled because of COVID. So we're like, you know,
wow.
we'll plan it for our 20-year anniversary and
Is
all
that the
stuff.
place where the airplane goes over the
It
beach?
It is
Okay.
exactly the place. You're right on the money there, Paul. You know your stuff.
I've been looking at, well, I got to get a girlfriend, then a wife, and I've been looking at honeymoon.
Oh, man. Anyway.
After Fullerton's episode couple weeks ago, it got me all riled up.
Oh, man. Well, anyway, just to get back on.
Inside joke for the Fullerton Unfiltered.
Oh, man. We'll have to check that one out.
Avid listener.
To get back on track here. So the evolution, that was the backstory of like the meetup that became the rally, because all of us came the second year and we met Greg and everybody. And then the year after that, like I went also, but then the year after that is when Greg started to do other things, and kind of people were kind of going off and doing other things. And I didn't want to see that community event like go away. Like I was so touched by it, because when I went there, I was a fan of these guys, and I had fans because I had just started a YouTube channel, and I had 1,000 subscribers or something, which was huge at that time.
Back then, I was like,
whoa.
When someone got to 10,000, I was
like Greg got 10,000.
Yeah, he was at 30,000. It was like.
Yeah. So like people were like, hey, how's it going, rookie? And I'm like, what in the world? These people know who I am. So like then that's when you first like attaching like people to the views, and it became real. Like when you're making videos, you're talking to yourself, you're putting videos out there, people comment, people like and all that, but it just doesn't seem as real until you go to these live events. That's why these live events are growing and becoming so much more popular, because you get to actually see and meet people in real life that you've been following on various social media platforms. So I got hit with that at the GIE for my first year, and that meetup, I was like, man, this is so awesome. I had people come up and shake my hand and say thank you for providing the content that you have. You've really helped me change my business or my life. I quit my corporate America job and all this stuff. So I really wanted to continue that. I didn't want to see that die. So I kind of took the reins the following year as some other folks took a step back. And that's when it kind of became the unofficial rally. We still had it at the same place, but I created the Facebook group, Road to the GIE Facebook group, to kind of streamline communication, because everybody up to that point was kind of all over the place on their YouTube channel saying this, on Instagram saying that, Facebook saying that, and everyone was always confused. Where is this person going to be? Well, who's doing what? And I'm like, man, I couldn't even keep track. So I'm like, I'm just going to make a Facebook group so we can all post our stuff in one area. And that's where I put an official event for the meetup at Pleasure Ridge Pizza back in the day when it still was that. And like 150 people or something showed up. It was nuts. And we had a couple of sponsors come, but they didn't a couple brands come, and they were giving out some free stuff. They just wanted to be part of the community. And that's where the whole idea was born, because people were in the parking lot. There was an outside and inside at this restaurant, and there was still people in the parking lot, down the sidewalk, all this stuff. So that's when I was like, maybe we should find an outside venue, get some sponsors involved. And that's when it evolved into the mega caverns. We went from 1 room to 2 rooms to a whole corner. We went from 300 people to 450 next year to 600 people in 2019. And you were there for what, the last 2 or all 3? Which
I was there for 3.
All 3 of them?
I believe.
Yeah, so your first GIE was the first rally at the Mega Caverns, where we were all packed in that one room.
Yeah,
with
me
the
and
ropes
Rusty
course.
and John were passing out the T-shirts.
Yep, that was the first one.
Yeah, and then the next one was bigger in the separate rooms.
Yeah.
And then last year was postponed. So
Yeah. So yeah, that had kept growing, but because of COVID, things got all wonky, obviously, last year, and it's been really hard for me to reconnect with certain people and certain things, and I was finally able to reconnect with the Mega Caverns. They kind of went through some stuff, as you can imagine, as a lot of people did. Like last year, I was like, hey, I know things are crazy. What do you got? Well, we'd love to have you, but we got 10 people capacity, so I don't know how that's going to work. And I'm like, I don't think it is going to work. But then the GIE had to postpone also, so it was kind of a done deal. So things are crazy. So I'll just say that some companies, brands, people have had a harder time rebounding from all of this COVID stuff than others. And, I'll just leave it at that. And so I had to start looking elsewhere for other venues. And last year I started doing that because of the pandemic. I was looking for outdoor venues, because if we were going to have it, I wanted to make it as safe as possible for the people that, that people that were concerned and people that that maybe had health issues or whatever. I just wanted to make sure that we were as safe as possible and we were outside and all that. And I knew there's a lot of great places in Louisville, but I didn't really know them personally. So I partnered with the Louisville Tourism, who I'd partnered with the previous year, and they gave a giveaway to our friend Jesse on Facebook there, and he won like a trip back to Louisville and a bourbon whiskey tour and all that cool stuff. So that was awesome. And they gave that away. So I reached out to them and they gave me a whole bunch of venues to choose from. So I selected one kind of that I wanted to do last year, but then everything got postponed, like we said. So nothing happened. So I reached back out to them again this year, and it's going to be at Copper and King's Distillery.
Okay, cool.
So that's going to be this new awesome place. They have this super huge outdoor courtyard with like a in-ground fire pit with like a big circle steps you go down, a big fire pit, and they've got bars everywhere because it's a distillery, and they've got tables, chairs, water all like around, like fountains and stuff all in the backdrop, and they've got an inside space, a gallery, and they're going to give tours for people and all kinds of cool stuff. So it's just going to be another awesome opportunity for us to get together and have a good time, at the GIE Rally at Louisville, Kentucky. The same time, Thursday night, 6 to 9. So,
and for guys that are new to this rally, you are going to have it be free again, and
absolutely.
Some food.
Yeah, and the way they were able to do that is to get some sponsors involved.
Right.
So, like, Echo is going to be the level 1 sponsor again. I mean, they're always the first ones to email me like, hey, what's going on with the rally this year?
Echo is awesome, guys. I mean, from the equipment standpoint, they got a great product. And for the community standpoint, they're like aggressive in a good way. Like, how can we get behind you? How can we support you? And that's how this summer tour all started. Right. Was Echo was like, hey, if you want to do this, we'd love to support you and make it possible. And with the rally,
they're great with that
for the community. And so
they're great with like being the pioneers of like, hey, this is a new idea. Let's be a part of it.
Yeah.
You know?
So I cannot say enough good things about Echo from product standpoint and also behind the scenes what they do for the community.
Honestly, if it wasn't for Echo, the rally would probably look and be different because they were the one that was like, hey, we'll just pay for the whole thing if you want. And I was like, all right, well I started working with some brands, but they weren't willing to do the whole thing, which I can understand. So let's just try and piece this all together. But Echo was like, they were my go-to company for sure. They were all in.
Cool. That sounds good. Well, I want to give you an opportunity, Naylor, to share about the LCR Media podcast. I know that, guys, it's a really, really good show, and we're fortunate because we've been doing like 500 episodes. When you type lawn care into the search engines, it kind of like on YouTube used to show you back in 2014.
Right.
It's pumping us out. So we want, hey, Melvin. Melvin just got here. I want to make sure everyone that listens to my show that you guys go subscribe right now, or I guess it's follow now, to the LCR Media podcast. Naylor's cranking out episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So tell us a little bit about your show.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I really appreciate that. Well, it's basically an extension of my Get to Know the Pro series that I started on YouTube many years ago. And I went to Atlanta to meet with you and get you on there. So you guys can check that out if you go on YouTube at Lawn Care Rookie or LCR, and you can look at the playlist for Get to Know the Pro and see the one with Paul and many, many other like 20-something episodes. But I actually went to everyone's shop and looked at their setup, maybe watched them work on for the day and heard their story, tell their story and all that. And Paul was thinking about starting the Green Industry podcast at the time too. And we recorded some episodes in his live studio there, and it was awesome. And I was asking you, if you remember, about podcasting and what's involved. You're like, it's pretty intense if you want to be super professional, and I'm trying to do everything 100% like that. And I was like, so it's kind of intimidating for me at the time. I had so many things going on. I didn't really want to dive into one more thing, but I wanted to have a podcast as an extension for the Get to Know the Pro series. I didn't know if I wanted to keep having season 2, 3, 4, or whatever of the YouTube series, but I thought maybe it'd be another extension to have a podcast where I can interview new people, get like kind of best ofs from the YouTube videos, like extract audio from multiple people were talking about work-life balance. Multiple people were talking about leaving a full-time job to making their lawn care full-time, and there were just so many different things that people had in common. So I wanted to get some of those snippets and put them all in an episode to put that all in the podcast. So the LCR Media podcast is all about getting to know the pros, whether it's old episodes that I had on YouTube that we're talking about and getting the audio on there for you guys, and live episodes like such as what we're going to be doing today here in the backyard at the waterfront property, talking to some new folks and just telling their stories and inspiring, motivating, hopefully maybe even teaching some of you folks that are listening, because I still learn. I mean, I'm a rookie for life, right? I learn every day from myself, from mistakes, from my peers and mentors in the industry. I'll catch something on social media or someone in person that's telling me something. I'm like, man, I didn't think about that. That's a good idea, So it's you can always learn. So that's what it's all about.
One thing I really like about the LCR Media podcast is he does use Mr. Producer, who's been in radio for 40 years. And so and one of the reasons why I started paying Mr. Producer, because he ain't cheap, I'll tell you that. But I was having complaints because guys are like, Paul, I love your show, but it's really hard to hear, especially when you have a guest, because you're on the mower or you're in the skid steer, or there's just, machinery going on. It's loud, whether it's a power equipment or a mower or a big boy piece of equipment. And I was talking to Mr. Producer about this because he's my friend, and we were colleagues together for a while. And he's like, yeah, I can do it. And I was like, well, teach me how to do it. And the more he tried to teach me, I was like, okay, I can't do it. Because you just don't increase the volume or blow it up and then it sounds horrible.
Right.
So you have to know what you're doing, be like a sound engineer.
Right.
And so anyway, he was able to do that for my show, and then he does the same with Caleb and Naylor and Fullerton's show, to where it's actually you can be listening in the skid steer.
I have to turn the
on
volume
mower,
down on our podcast.
but it keeps the integrity of the quality of the sound, but it still makes it loud. So anyway, it's a good, not just good content, but it's good audio. So guys, we have stepping stones in the house. Melvin just got here. I'm gonna interview these guys. Naylor's we're gonna kind of have a rotation, and then you're gonna fire up the Weber. So thank you for listening. We appreciate it, guys, and you can find today's show sponsors in the episode show notes. So we'll have more content here. Just be following LCR Media and the Green Industry Podcast, and you can enjoy more of our lakefront podcast batching. So catch you on the next one.
Cool.
All right. So this is what it's like behind the scenes.
What it's like behind the scenes,
All right.
man.
This is what it's at.
Got me never
How's it
seen nothing.
going?
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks for coming, man.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Melvin, how was that drive?
Got sleepy, but other than that, I'm good.
How long was it?
Yeah, how long?
An hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
What about you? Hey there, I'm Charles.
Melvin.
Nice to meet you. I'm over in Short Pump, so.
Oh,
not
that's a
too far
nice
away.
area. That's
Yeah.
where I stayed.
Oh, really?
Well, last year.
Yeah, last time. I think there's only
I don't
two
have a
people
lake, I have a creek. but
Yeah.
Next time.
Next time, there you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, only two people are coming from far. There's Easy Lawns and Melvin here.
Where are you based out of, Melvin?
Scottsville.
Oh, really? Okay. So closer to Charlottesville?
Charles.
Yeah, just south of Charlottesville.
Which way do you want me to go?
I just got to make sure I get this file saved and backed up.
I don't know how many podcasts I've listened to, but I'll tell you a lot of them talk about losing the chips, and you don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
so I just back them up.
I'm gonna throw my stuff where you have a seat. There's water in the floor here. I'll be right back.
So you're in the green industry, Melvin. What do you? What kind of business are you running?
This is
Maintenance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just maintenance.
Gotcha. How's Scottsville? Is there a lot? Do you work in Charlottesville or?
I get into Charlottesville just a little bit, but
Okay.
not much. Most of the country, So Scottsville's real small.
So you do a lot of larger